One nation once owned so much silver, it accidentally destroyed its own economy. This is the story of the Spanish Empire, the richest power of the 16th century. Not built on factories or trade, but on mountains of American silver. That treasure funded empires, armies, and endless European wars. So how did unimaginable riches become the very cause of Spain's downfall? It began in 1492, when Columbus reached the Americas for the Spanish crown. Explorers sought gold, but found something far more valuable underground. In 1545, they discovered the Silver Mountain of Potosi in the Andes. Potosi held the richest silver deposits the world had ever seen. Soon, a boomtown grew, rivaling Europe's greatest cities in size. At its peak, Potosi housed over 160,000 people high in the mountains. But the silver came at a terrible human cost. The Spanish revived an old Inca labor system called the mita. Native workers were forced deep underground for grueling shifts. Thousands died from cave-ins, exhaustion, and toxic fumes. Mercury was used to refine the silver, poisoning countless lives. Once refined, the silver was cast into heavy bars and coins. These coins, called pieces of 8, spread across the world. Mule trains carried the treasure down to Pacific ports. From there, ships prepared to cross the ocean to Spain. Treasure fleets gathered yearly at Havana before the Atlantic crossing. These convoys carried Spain's fortune across dangerous open seas. Pirates and rival navies hunted the silver-laden ships. English privateers like Francis Drake raided the treasure routes. Storms and hurricanes sank entire fleets to the ocean floor. Surviving ships finally reached Seville, Spain's treasure capital. Officials weighed and taxed every bar for the king's fifth. The crown's share funded palaces, courts, and royal ambition. King Philip II ruled an empire where the sun never set. But silver flowed out as fast as it arrived in Spain. Much of the treasure paid off debts to foreign bankers. German and Italian lenders financed Spain's costly wars. Spain fought constant wars across Europe and the seas. The war against the Dutch drained silver for decades. In 1588, Philip launched the Great Armada against England. Storms and English ships shattered the mighty fleet. The disaster cost Spain fortunes and countless lives. Yet silver kept flooding in, deepening a hidden danger. So much silver made money itself lose its value. Prices soared in what became known as the Price Revolution. As prices climbed, ordinary Spaniards found their wages buying less each year. Foreign goods flooded in, cheaper than anything Spain could make itself. Spanish workshops and farms struggled to compete and slowly fell silent. Silver bought foreign products instead of building Spanish industry. The wealth passed through Spain like water through open hands. Meanwhile, the crown borrowed ever more against future treasure fleets. When fleets were late, the king was forced to declare bankruptcy. Spain went bankrupt again and again despite its mountains of silver. Each default ruined bankers and shook Europe's fragile finances. Yet the wars demanded still more money that Spain no longer had. The endless wars demanded soldiers, and Spain raised the feared tercio infantry. These veteran troops dominated Europe's battlefields for over a century. But paying these armies swallowed silver faster than any fleet could bring. When wages went unpaid, even loyal soldiers mutinied in the field. In 1576, unpaid troops sacked the wealthy city of Antwerp. The horror became known as the Spanish Fury, staining the empire's name. Each revolt drove more Dutch provinces to break free from Spanish rule. Silver mines in Potosi still poured out ore deep in the Andes. Forced native laborers toiled in the dark, dying by the thousands. Their suffering was the true hidden cost of Spain's shining wealth. The silver crossed the ocean in great treasure fleets, guarded against pirates and storms. Twice a year, these ships reached Seville, the beating heart of Spain's empire. Officials weighed and counted the bullion, taxing the king's royal fifth. But much of the treasure was already promised to bankers before it ever arrived. English and Dutch privateers hunted these fleets across the open seas. A single captured galleon could fund an enemy's war for a year. To defend it all, Spain stretched its navy thin across distant oceans. The empire spanned continents, but its resources could not stretch so far. In Madrid, the Escorial Palace rose as a monument to royal power and faith. Within its halls, King Philip ruled his empire alone, buried in endless paperwork. Philip demanded to read every dispatch, delaying decisions for weeks or months. By the time orders reached distant fronts, battles were already lost. The empire grew too vast for one man to govern from a single desk. In 1588, Philip launched a great armada to invade rebellious England. Storms and English fireships scattered the fleet across the northern seas. Barely half the ships limped home, shattering Spain's aura of invincibility. The costly disaster drained the treasury with nothing to show for it. Still the silver came, but its value fell as more flooded the world. The very abundance of treasure made each coin worth less than before. Meanwhile, plague and hunger thinned the villages that fed the empire. As farms emptied, Spain grew ever more dependent on imported grain and foreign goods. Silver bought luxuries abroad, yet built few workshops or industries at home. The crown borrowed against future fleets, sinking deeper into crushing debt. In 1557, and again after, the king declared bankruptcy on his loans. Genoese and German bankers absorbed the losses, then lent yet again. Each new loan carried higher interest, tightening the noose on the treasury. Taxes rose on the common people, already worn thin by war and famine. Merchants and nobles found ways to avoid the burden, leaving the poor to pay. The mighty empire of silver was quietly rotting from within. By the century's end, Spain ruled the world, yet could not pay its bills. High in the Bolivian Andes rose Potosi, a mountain of solid silver. Its mines produced more silver than the rest of the world combined. Thousands of forced laborers died in its tunnels to feed the empire. But most Potosi silver never enriched Spain for long. It flowed across the Pacific from Acapulco to Manila in Spanish galleons. In Manila, Chinese merchants traded silk and porcelain for that silver. China's economy ran on silver, and Potosi fed its hungry treasury. So Bolivian silver quietly fueled the wealth of a distant empire. Spain mined the mountain, yet others reaped its lasting riches. The empire that dug the silver died in debt, while its treasure enriched the world.